welcome to another 3 minutes of wine chat from the HanDrinksSolo wine community. This time on de Krans's Tritonia Red Blend 2018. Now, we've talked about Calitzdorp a couple of times over the last few months, over how hot and dry it is, and over how, honestly, it's about as dystopian as South African wine can get. Truth be told, that wasn't actually Calitzdorp. That was, in fact, some fan art based off of a Mad Max scene. But in some senses, that completely fictional image is quite useful in explaining what sets Klein Karoo and Calitzdorp apart from the rest of the South African winelands. So, most of the South African winelands are classified as having a Mediterranean climate, which means winter rainfall and some ocean influences. But as you go further and further inland, and Calitzdorp is way inland, those ocean influences get far fewer and further between. And what we're left with is classified as a continental climate, which means that there's huge variation between the seasons. You have ridiculously hot summers and freezing cold winters. As we've said previously, the climate in Calitzdorp is very similar to the Douro Valley in Portugal. And the soils are quite similar too. Now, Calitzdorp doesn't have those famous white ℃𝕙𝕚𝕚𝕚 clay soils that you have in the Douro Valley, but there is a lot of clay spread around the region. Of course, in Calitzdorp, this clay, which is great for moisture retention in very hot periods, is interspersed with quite a lot of sand and loam as well. Luckily, thanks to the 𝚃𝚘𝚗𝚊 River, estates like de Krans have access to irrigation. So even where soils are not as retentive as a pure clay soil might be, there is plenty of water in order to make sure the vines have what they need. But really, the important thing to note here is that the climate is like the Douro in Portugal, and the soils are like the Douro in Portugal, which means, surprise, surprise, the cultivars are like the Douro in Portugal. Now, these cultivars include grapes like ℃𝕙𝕚𝕚𝕚, Touriga Nacional, Tinta Amarela, and Tinta Roriz, which is called Tempranillo when it's in Spain. And for those of you who are still feeling a little uneasy that I used Mad Max fan art in order to represent Calitzdorp, and you're hung up on things like facts, this is what de Krans actually looks like, thanks to the miracle of irrigation and the 𝚃𝚗𝚗𝚗 River. Now, Calitzdorp is a district within the Klein Karoo region, and it's a solid 4.5-hour drive from Cape Town, which is partially why you don't get waves and waves of Insta snaps from city folks who have just popped out to Calitzdorp for a little bit of wine tasting. Klein Karoo, as an overarching region, produces a very small percentage of our South African wine output, but it has the distinction of producing some of our finest brandies and ports. Of course, what excites me most is the ever-increasingly excellent standard of still wines using Portuguese cultivars. Okay, so once you've cracked this guy, don't be afraid to leave a review, ask any questions you might have, or perhaps you have some recommendations of some outstanding Klein Karoo wines that you've discovered that I can share with the community. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like or subscribe and leave any comments you may have in the comments section. And finally, if you're looking for some more in-depth wine content, you can head on over to the video section on the HanDrinksSolo website, where there are videos on everything from winemaking to viticulture, to what we do at the HanDrinksSolo Wine Club, to why Chris Hemsworth is Nebbiolo and Liam is Barbera.